Welcome, one and all, to the Off the Mic Wrestling Show here on YouTube by Mike Mayer. Appreciate you all tuning in here. Doing this space a little bit earlier. Normally, I post the show and I do the show a little bit later in the night on Mondays as I do a space with a couple of my friends from San Antonio. They were actually out at Raw in Austin, Texas tonight, made the short drive over to the University of Texas. So, really cool for them to get to experience this hot crowd, a sellout again for WWE. It's incredible what this company has been able to do in 2024. And the show starts with, in my opinion, the star of the show, and that's Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley. I talked about Aura on my Friday SmackDown recap show in regards to Roman Reigns. Rhea Ripley has reached a level of aura unlike anything that I think we have ever seen in the women's division in professional wrestling. I'm not even kidding and exaggerating when I say that, because the way this woman carries herself, the way she presents herself, the way she talks, the way she acts, the way she performs in the ring, it's unlike anything that I have ever seen from a female superstar. And you can clearly see, as plain as day, why WWE decided, hey, we don't need Sasha Banks anymore. Let's let her go get her bag, because we got Rhea fucking Ripley. We've got Rhea bloody Ripley on our hands, and she is just reigning terror. This Liv angle and her getting really hurt, I think, really enhanced a lot of the story being told. It would have been nice to see her have one of the all-time greatest runs with a women's championship that we've ever seen, but still, she reigned for over a year, which is still pretty damn impressive. But now this new evolution in her character, I think, is fascinating. So she starts the show. She basically says she's had a lot of time to think since what happened at SummerSlam. She's felt every emotion one could feel: embarrassment, heartbreak, but now the main feeling is she is pissed the hell off. Rhea says Dom stabbed her in the back, then added that she was going to say something that he's probably heard before. It just wasn't deep enough. Ooh, man. Whoo! That is a burn and a half. She then added that Liv Morgan can't run forever. It's time to remind Liv and Dom who she is. Liv doesn't even really let Rhea finish. She's just shouting from the stands. And Liv and Dom appear up near the top part of the lower bowl of the Moody Center in Austin. So Morgan basically says that her daddy Dom has something to get off her chest, and Ripley basically says, "Yeah, you know what? I love the booze, but you know what? Even though you're booing Dom, I actually want to hear what he has to say here, because she loves excuses." Dom said he is a man and deserves to be treated like one. Then a "you suck" chant breaks out. Dom said Rhea tried to change him rather than let him be himself. He said it was embarrassing to be bossed around and being a grown man who referred to Ripley as mommy. Okay. Dom said he has a woman who calls him daddy, lets him play video games, gives him tendies and whatever. So, this went exactly how I expected it to go. Dom then said Morgan did something that Rhea could never do, and that was help beat my deadbeat dad. Another good part of this story. Like I said, this has been so well played since the Rhea Ripley injury. So then Ripley responds, and Rhea basically says she was going to say something that he probably hasn't heard in a long time. Ripley said that she's proud of Dom, said he's proud of everything that Dom has accomplished over the last couple years. She said watching Dom become a man is one of her biggest accomplishments. Ripley also said that Dom finally did something for himself and won gold. Ripley said she wanted Dom to beat his father on her own without any excuses, and without any excuses about Dom being better, any doubt, removing all the doubt. And Rhea also said she should probably be proud of Dom for making his own decisions, but it will probably be the last one he ever makes. And this is when Rhea just goes on the warpath. Morgan said Dom is a man and he's all hers. Morgan said Ripley has no family. Morgan said Ripley's real family is a million miles away, and she took her adopted family in the Judgment Day, Dom, and the Women's Championship. Everything that you loved is mine. So Liv is going on the heel train. Liv's getting a lot of booze. It shows what happens when you associate yourself with the heat magnet Dom Mysterio. Rhea then said that Morgan has taken a lot from her, but not everything. Rhea said Morgan took a lot of her weak links, but the mistake she made was leaving her standing. Rhea then said she would be coming for Morgan, who would have to kill her to stop her. Rhea then said Morgan loves the sound of her own voice, which made it easy for us to find out where she and Dom is. And Morgan asked what Rhea was talking about. By the way, in the midst of all this, the fans were chanting sloppy seconds, and Liv retaliated with saying, I'll take Dom's sloppy seconds every day of the week. And that was a savage line, too. I can't wait for the show to get to Netflix, for God's sake. So after Liv asked Rhea, what the hell are you talking about? Damian Priest, with the full Undertaker meme, just appears behind Liv and Dom. Once Dom turns around, Priest is just beating the hell out of him. They fight into the bar area up on the concourse and down the steps. Priest punches Dom, who tumbles over a barricade. Priest then tossed Dom into the ring and stopped him from leaving. Priest then grabs Dom by the throat. Meanwhile, Rhea and Liv are just running away. Like, Rhea's just chasing after Liv. Carlito then attacks Priest because this sets up the match with him and Priest. Because Carlito, I guess, is just the guy. Carlito and JD are just there really to just take a bunch of shit. That's really how this is going to go. So Carlito attacks Damian Priest from behind. Like I said, they're having a match coming up. Priest then gets Carlito out of the ring. We go to commercial, and it's Damian Priest versus Carlito, as I said. So Priest dominates this match early on. He goes for South of Heaven a little bit early on, but Carlito gets out, going to ringside. Priest then chases him around, prevents him from returning into the ring. Priest punched Carlito and then threw him back into the ring. Priest sets up for the Razor's Edge, but Carlito slips out, gets a DDT on him. Priest goes up top, but Carlito hits the rope, cut him off, and hits him with a superplex. So this was a semi-competitive match. Carlito actually, you know what? He got a lot of shit early on in his time in WWE, but he's done really well for himself. I got to give him credit. He's kind of found his own as kind of the comic relief and kind of the middle point of the Judgment Day, like obviously a level below JD. He'll get in matches, he'll be competitive, and like I said, he's the part of the group that you can kind of expend and take some pinfalls. So he's doing his job really well. Priest goes face first into the ropes. Spun around, but drops Carlito with a clothesline. He hits the South of Heaven and wins the match. This is a fine TV match. This was good. Gets Damian Priest over with the crowd. He's getting really good cheers off of this like official babyface turn. Although we've seen signs of this since he won the title at WrestleMania. So that post-match angle, JD almost immediately after the bell attacks Priest. Priest is able to get controlled really quickly, but then it's Finn and Dom who get in on the attack and Liv's there. Rhea gets her music played the second time in the span of 30 minutes. When's the last time you had that happen where you hit somebody's music twice in the span of like a half hour? Like I said, she is a freaking superstar. Like, they know it. They know that this woman is a damn superstar. So Rhea gets in the ring. Balor was like, it was basically Balor was the only heel left in the midst of this. So Rhea goes face to face with Balor, and Priest gets up behind him. So they're cornering Finn. JD runs in to make the save, takes a kick from Priest, gets chokeslam. Priest then stares down Balor, who is in the entrance aisleway. Priest and Ripley hug. And as this is happening, Dom decides to be an idiot and jump off the top rope right into a chokeslam. And and then Rhea insists, hey, give him to me. I want to hit the riptide. And they're building to this moment where Rhea's finally going to get her comeuppance on Dom. And it's going to be a freaking massive and beautiful moment for the fans to just go absolutely ape shit when Rhea hits the riptide on Dom. So Rhea goes to the riptide, but Morgan, much like last week when Rhea was going to slam Liv through the table and Dom saved her, it's the same way. Liv gets Dom to safety, and that's the end of the segment. This was great, this sort of gets us into the direction of what they were going to do, which I'll talk about a little bit later on here. Then we go backstage. It's Otis, Akira Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree. Ivy Nile asks if she can speak with Maxine. Ivy Nile basically tells Maxine she didn't think she'd have to be at ringside. Dupree said she's out there to support her family. Nile said she knew she'd say that. You kind of see the writing on the wall here. Then we talk about the Wyatt Six. Not really a lot there. Like, it was just, we're going back to the VH style videos. Bo Dallas is featured here. And he said everything's come full circle. Dallas said it's been heavy lately, and there's a lot of emotions, especially like last week in Baltimore, where it all started with the Wyatt family, and obviously now with the Wyatt Six with their in-ring debut. Dallas said the Wyatt Six had their debut where it all began. Dallas said, you were there, and something big is happening, but the work is not done. Bo then said, looked at a static fill television while a distorted voice said, the work must continue and other doors shall be opened. And then Bo says repeatedly, my life for you, my life for you. And that's the end of the segment. So that's the next advancement, really, in the Wyatt Six angle that they've been teasing. But yeah, like I said, it was a successful debut. This is still intriguing. But at some point, we got to kind of, like, differentiate these things up in terms of, like, okay, are they on site? Are they video? How this is going to work and how they're going to be able to make this and keep this thing fresh. That's once we get past really like the honeymoon phase of this thing. This might start to wear on people. The novelty and the coolness of it is still there, but again, we've got to start differentiating some of these things up so they don't feel redundant. So that's my only thing on that. So Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, they're talking about the Wyatts briefly. Transition out of that, they talk about Odyssey Jones, who's making his debut. So they air the highlights of the match. So then Xavier Woods is walking backstage, and he finds Kofi and Odyssey. Woods wanted to talk to Kofi, and Kofi basically told me, "Yeah, you're gonna be out in the corner. We're gonna be out to support Odyssey Jones in his match tonight." Woods clearly looks annoyed, and he's been playing this perfectly since Odyssey debuted last week. Tries to put on the happy face. And then we go to commercial. We'll set up the match. When they come back, Michael Cole talks about how, like I said, Moody Center in Austin, Texas, sold out. 35th sellout. 35th TV sellout of the year. That's insane. 35 TV sellouts. That's awesome for WWE. They show a huge graphic. I love that they're pumping up this information. WWE is as white hot as it has been in years. It really is at a level that I haven't seen it at in a long time. It's a lot of energy behind it. You see me doing these shows. It's spawned because there is a buzz around the world of professional wrestling. Yeah, even to some degree AEW. And it's good to have a company that's on North American television. I'd like for it to be better, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so then we get Odyssey Jones, accompanied by the New Day, taking on Vincent Winey. And that is actually, I did not realize this until after the fact, that is Cora Jade's boyfriend, because Cora Jade is no longer with Braun Breaker. So that was an interesting little tidbit that I found out on the internet after that. That's why, Twitter and social media is really good for things. You can find out things that you've never heard about people you never heard about. So, Winey goes right after Odyssey. Obviously, Odyssey being the much bigger guy. Jones quickly takes control. This match doesn't go on for very long. Winey goes off the ropes, runs into a big spinning sidewalk slam, almost like the Black Hole Slam for those of you TNA, OG TNA people who watched Abyss. And this was over in under 2 minutes. This was perfect for Odyssey Jones as a debut. He's absolutely over. The fans love him. He's got a great personality. And this really adds a really intriguing element. I was saying the New Day thing was getting kind of tired. And now this little tease, and I'll talk about it after what happened, there's a little tease with what's going on in the New Day that kind of makes it a little bit different. So after the match, the Final Testament, they're still not done. Final Testament actually got some heat, which was actually, the people actually kind of care now, which is, a testament to Karrion Kross. Like I said, I think Karrion Kross is fine, but this hasn't really worked. I go back to that crowd in France, nobody reacted to AOP. Nobody. But they got some heat here, which was great. So Kross said at first glance it seemed like Kofi was trying to replace Big E with Odyssey, but he said the truth is he's using Jones to replace Woods. Woods told Kross that the attempts to drive a wedge between them won't work. Woods starts to propose a tag match, but Kingston jumps the gun, steps over him, and basically suggests a six-man tag to prevent the odd man advantage from somebody interfering. So it's going to be AOP, the whole Final Testament. So that would be AOP and Carrion versus the New Day and Odyssey Jones. Woods looks annoyed, and Cross accepts the challenge. This is really an interesting little dynamic that is developing amongst the New Day because we don't know when Big E's coming back. If you've paid attention to what's been said in the media, the New Day has said publicly that they don't ever want to break up. But the reality of the situation here is, I don't know if Big E's ever going to wrestle again. And if you're going to insert a newcomer like Odyssey Jones, who does fit the Big E role, why not play at least a little bit of intrigue there that Woods might turn? Because, again, the New Day, pretty much since WrestleMania 37, when they were the tag team champions, has done virtually nothing. They're still over, but they haven't felt relevant in like 3 years. And a lot of that is unfortunate because of you obviously had the unfortunate situation like at WrestleMania 38, right before it, that Big E broke his neck, and Big E was the champion coming out of late in 2021. So there was some stuff there that had the New Day kind of relevant, but like I said, they haven't been at the championship level of this division in a long time. So why not experiment with it? See, I don't know what the hell is going to happen, to be honest with you, and that's the beauty of this situation. I'll believe it when I see it, when Xavier Woods turns heel, or if he turns heel. But until that happens, I'm not going to believe it. Then again, Wes Lee turned last week, and I never thought that guy was ever going to be a heel anywhere because his style just fit it so well. But WWE shocks you, and they create this misdirect, so I'm really interested in this story. Then we go to Adam Pearce in the back on the phone. Drew McIntyre walks in. Pearce tells him that CM Punk isn't here due to travel issues. McIntyre then takes an issue with Randy Orton challenging for the World Heavyweight title. And basically, said he wouldn't let that. And McIntyre was talking about maybe trying to do something stupid or alluding to doing something to Orton later in the night. But he said that then Pearce said he wouldn't let that happen on his turf. And McIntyre said he was going to take care of it. Pearce said the last person who said they would do something and would take care of something was Bronson Reed. McIntyre said he would be on his best behavior, Scout's honor. I think he held up 3 fingers. Drew's really great. Drew's really great with this, smarmy, douchebag kind of behavior, just kind of troll. It's great. He's honestly been fantastic through this whole build since the Royal Rumble and really getting the contract that he deserved. So then we get the match with it's a Texas Tornado match in Texas between the Alpha Academy and 2 members. The other, because Chad Gable was actually in Paris for the Olympics, which is really cool. So it's Julius and Brutus Creed versus Akira Tozawa and Otis. During Alpha Academy's entrance, this was very interesting, and keep an eye on this because I think this might be the direction they go. It's kind of disappointing, but you know what? I would actually want to see this match. Obafemi was at ringside because for those who were on site there, Obafemi did a main event match before the show, so Oba was there. They're hyping up that he's got an open challenge tomorrow night, so I would venture to guess that Otis is probably facing Obafemi in that open challenge for the North American title tomorrow night on NXT. I'd love for it to be Moose, but it almost feels like you should build for a TNA guy maybe at a bigger stage, like a No Mercy, which is their next premium live event, which is a little bit down the road. So, yeah, or maybe you save it for their first show in Chicago or in St. Louis in those back-to-back weeks that they're on the road. So, then everybody makes their entrance. They show a video of Chad Gable, who, like I said, was in France for the Olympics. He said he was doing some scouting. Said he realized he needed to get back home because he's got unfinished business with the Wyatt Six. So there's that. This was really cool. If you guys were watching the Olympics, Masai Russell, an American track and field star, won the 100-meter hurdles in a photo finish. Like a lot of exciting stuff in the Olympics. But she won the gold medal in the 100-meter hurdles. And she is in the NIL program for WWE. So WWE hyped it up. Triple H did hyped it up after the win on his social media. So really cool to see WWE's program and them hyping up their athletes. They wanted this to be Gable Steveson, but Gable Steveson obviously didn't work out. I think he's now in the NFL. I don't know, but really cool. And congratulations to Masai Russell. Winning a gold medal for your country is obviously just amazing. So then we get the Texas Tornado match, which was awesome. This was this match was so much better than I thought it had any right of being, because they have not presented Akira Tozawa really well. He's obviously been presented as a joke, but this was, man, this was awesome. So Otis uses Tozawa as a uses him as a battering ram for early part of this match. Then Otis press slams Tozawa over his head to the outside onto the Creeds. The Creeds then get control out of the first commercial break, and Tozawa is able to hit a double DDT. Otis then gets into the ring after being down at ringside. Otis is able to work over the Creeds. He removes his free Otis shirt, gets the caterpillar, but Brutus breaks up the pin. Otis then drops Brutus with a clothesline, hoists him up. Julius catches Otis with a knee. Brutus hits a standing moonsault. Julius hits a standing shooting star press. Brutus goes for a powerbomb from the middle rope, but Tozawa counters with a Hurricane Rana, which was nasty. Like I said, Tozawa goes for a suicide dive. This was the one part of it. Tozawa's feet got caught in the rope, so he didn't get all of it. Tozawa then goes up, shoots right up, and gets Julius back into the ring. Tozawa goes up to the ropes. He's cut off by Brutus. Julius then hoists Otis on his shoulders, and this is nutty, because Otis ain't a small dude. Otis actually suplexes Brutus from there on a Tower of Doom type spot, and everybody falls down. Tozawa then hits his senton, but in the midst of all this, Ivy Niles shows up at ringside. Maxine was there, hits Maxine from behind, slams her in the face, slams her face on the broadcast table, and then locks in a dragon sleeper on the broadcast table. Otis is distracted. Brutus kicks Otis, and then Brutus rolls up Tozawa with the help of his brother to pin Tozawa for the win. And Julius and Brutus get the win. This was great. This was really great, aside from the one botch from Tozawa. But it's nice to see that they're giving Tozawa and they're making him look like the guy's a former cruiserweight champion. It feels like a lifetime ago. This guy can work, man. He's the damn stamina monster. So, like, this was awesome. I really enjoyed this. Then we get a Pete Dunne interview with Jackie Redmond. This was pre-taped in the empty seats. Make your AEW jokes there. They're on the hard cam side, I guess. So Redmond asked Pete about his issues with Sheamus. Dunne said Sheamus never took him under his wing. Dunne said that Sheamus was under his wing. Dunne then accused Sheamus of holding him down, and he said all he got out of it was a terrible nickname and a front row seat to the Sheamus show. Dunne questioned the idea of Sheamus caring about the Brawling Brutes, and then asked where the heck Ridge is. Ridge, interestingly enough, has a tag team title shot tomorrow night in NXT with Andre Chase of Chase University, so he's kind of doing pretty well for himself. Then Jackie brings up the name Butch, and Dunne just tells her never to say it again. He said he had to swallow his pride for 2 years and let Sheamus' little brother him. Dunne said he's the bruiserweight and an 18-year veteran. Dunne said he'll shut up Sheamus so he'll never have to hear that Butch name again. I love that they are tying this Butch thing into the story, because anybody who was paying attention a couple years ago knew that was a stupid idea. So this is, if anything, like, for one, it's nice that they're using this as a storyline to kind of tie the loose ends and turn Pete Dunne into really what is the Bruiserweight, what we got to know Pete Dunne as over all these years in WWE. But this feels like a giant middle finger to Vince McMahon's creative, because, I mean, what were we all saying through the later stages when he came up in 2022 and joined the Brawling Brutes, and then towards the back half of 2022? We were just waiting and waiting and waiting for them to drop the Butch gimmick, and it finally happened at the start of this year when he joined up with Tyler Bate. But now we're starting to see the real Bruiserweight. And that's what's awesome about this whole thing with Sheamus, and that with Tyler Bate out, presumably for the rest of the year, and New Catch Republic not being really in the tag team division, why not give Pete Dunne a push? He beat Trick Williams, the former NXT champion, last week. Queen is a whistle. So yeah, this was awesome. I really enjoyed this. I think this is a great little mid-card feud on Raw that's been going on. They did something really cool with Bronson Reed, hyping up. They did this, what was called, I think it was called Raw Physics. And this was great, like, because it hyped up Bronson Reed hitting the six tsunamis on Seth Rollins last week. So Cole and McAfee, this was obviously pre-voiced. They framed it as Seth taking over 10,000 pounds of impact. McAfee also was saying that it was the weight of 2 small elephants, 10 boars, and 50 kangaroos. I don't know why they needed to use kangaroos as a mention, but that was great. We then go backstage to Adam Pearce telling Bronson Reed he was lucky to only get fined. Reed said he wasn't given an opportunity, so he had to make an impact. Reed said he wouldn't. He would give Pearce a second chance, find him an opponent, or he would go find his next victim. I love this Bronson Reed build. This is the best he's looked on the main roster. We'll talk about his match a little bit later. So then we get dueling promos going into the next match. Damage Control, which is Io Sky and Kairi Sane, going up against Sonya. They're going to go up against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, along with Sonya Deville, who's just there. They are now called the Pure Fusion Collective. Try saying that 10 times fast. That's going to take some getting used to. But it's nice to see that they're establishing them as a group. So Baszler actually pointed this out. And again, nothing is lost in Triple H's WWE. Shayna pointed out, hey, I made Jade Cargill tap out in that Magic Class at the Castle. We've never gotten our rightful rematch. So that was great. So then the tag team champions are out next, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, because this is a number 1 contenders match for the women's tag team titles. They showed, before the match got started, they showed a graphic for Kevin Sullivan. They aired a nice video package for him on Friday. While the entrances for both these teams are happening, Candice Michelle, go back 15 years. She's in the audience. I don't know what she was doing in Austin. Maybe she lives there, but that was really cool to see her. Kind of a blast from the past. She was a part of that women's division when they were, bra and panties matches. And she actually she's a former women's champion. She turned into a pretty good wrestler. But she started off as a model, kind of like that Trish Stratus mold, although Trish Stratus really became like the greatest female competitor of all time. So then we get this match between Io Sky, Kairi Sane taking on Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. So this match really was built up very nice. Like, Io got in some cool moves. And down the stretch of it, there was a lot of interaction with the champions who were right at ringside. So there's a spot at the ringside area towards the end where Zoe goes for a super kick on Io, but Io ducks, and I think she hit Alba with the kick. So they get back inside the ring. Io gets the over the moonsault. She gets 2, but Fire and Dawn come in for the DQ. I don't know who technically won, but this was a no contest. Listen, and they made this a triple threat match next week, but this is the type of stuff that drives people crazy about the women's tag team division. And you're building to nothing. I understand that, like, you got to, kind of protect one of these teams, but it's like, you can only go to non-finishes so often. And sometimes I think WWE relies on these. I see where they're going with this, but this felt kind of a little bit like in that redundant category and what's been really wrong with this women's tag division. I like that they're building up more teams and trying to establish this so that it's just not Bianca and Jade and just a bunch of other people. So there's going to be I'll talk about what's coming up next week. So then we go backstage. R-Truth is consoling Miz, who's very mopey and he's not in a great mood. And R-Truth tells Miz, hey, I got you an Intercontinental title match. But then he points up to the TV, and Miz realizes he's not facing Braun Breaker, which, I mean, I don't know why you'd want to face Braun Breaker. He's a damn maniac. He's facing Bronson Reed. So I don't know which. Bronson Reed at this point is a maniac too. He killed Seth Rollins, so but Truth said it was his bad. Randy Orton comes in and he tries to give Miz a pep talk. Miz gets fired up, storms off. Truth asked Orton if he really thought Miz had a chance, and Randy was like, "Come on," and he's just got this sheepish look on his face. It was great. So this led into the Randy Orton promo. Basically they showed the footage from a few months ago at King and Queen of the Ring where Randy Orton's shoulder was not down, which just set the stage for this whole match. This makes me feel really old. Randy reminds the crowd that it's been almost 20 years to the day that he won his first World Heavyweight Championship for the first time and became the youngest world champion in history. God, I am old. God, I am old. That was 20 years ago, and they won't ever tell you who he beat for the championship because that was Chris Benoit. They're never going to mention it on television for obvious reasons. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. Maybe protect your history because it's a really scary and just downright disturbing situation that happened with him. So I'm not going to go too far down that road. So then Orton says history will repeat himself. It will repeat itself at Bash in Berlin. He becomes a 15-time world champion. Gunther comes out. Orton that says he would beat Gunther, and then Raw will be his new home. He won't be on SmackDown anymore, which that's an interesting element that we're going to just move Randy over. I like the loose. I mean, I know a lot of people are not like fans of this loose like brand split that we've been having, but like I said, when storylines apply, I think you can do it. Gunther said Orton should be the greatest of all time, but Orton took his unlimited potential and wasted it. Gunther said it's a new era, and Orton will play a part in this era. Orton conceded he has made mistakes. He said he owned up to the mistakes and changed course. Randy said he's the most unpredictable, violent, controversial, yet successful superstar in the history of the game. Randy also said Gunther can have his opinion, but he's done it his way, the American way, and always will. Orton then mentions his 5 kids and his hot ass smoke show wife, and said he thinks he's done it pretty damn well for himself. And we get a USA chant. I did not expect this feud to get a USA chant, but hey, here we are in 2024. I don't think that's what they were going for. Then this got personal. This got really personal really quickly. Gunther said he would give Orton the beating of his life in Berlin. Gunther said Orton will never be the world heavyweight champion again. Gunther said when it really matters, Orton always screws it up. Gunther said it comes natural to Orton because his grandfather was a screw up, his father was a screw up, and Orton is the biggest screw up of all. And Orton drops the mic, gets fired up, goes face to face with Gunther. And as this is happening, you think something's going to happen. Out comes Drew McIntyre with a microphone in his hand. He has a smirk on his face. CM Punk chants start breaking out. Gunther turned to leave, but Randy spins him around, hits an RKO out of nowhere. McIntyre removes his shirt, assumingly he's going to get involved. But CM Punk is actually in Austin, Texas. It was a ruse the whole time. He jumps a barricade and attacks McIntyre. McIntyre gets a Glasgow kiss in. McIntyre removes his belt, tries to hit Punk with it, but Punk avoids it. Gets the belt, just starts whipping McIntyre mercifully. Punk and McIntyre get into the ring. Orton and Gunther are gone. And Punk just whipped McIntyre until he left the ring and hopped the barricade. Punk returned to the ring and he plays to the crowd and celebrates with his music, and that's the end of the segment. This was awesome. Two big-time feuds really elevated, and that tells me that Punk and McIntyre are probably, and we'll talk. He had an interview with Kathy Kelly after, and I think we're getting a strap match in Berlin, and then we're going to get the Hell in a Cell match as the rubber match in Atlanta for Bad Blood. So then Sheamus gets an interview with Jackie Redmond. Sheamus said he doesn't understand why Pete Dunne has such a beef with him. Sheamus said Dunne is trying to make it all about himself, make a name off himself, off his name. Then Ludwig Kaiser, ladies and gentlemen, he comes in. So they put on a real banger last week. Kaiser said it's far from over, but then Pete Dunne shows up from behind, hits him in the back with a shillelagh. Kaiser just backs off, walks away. Refs and producers are trying to separate this whole thing. And then Pete Dunne gets a shillelagh shot, I believe, on Sheamus's hand to end this segment. So more heat to this feud, which is great. Like I said, a great lower to upper tier mid card TV feud, which is great. So then CM Punk shown backstage. He's walking, and it looked like this was a nice little piece of production. Gunther rolls right past him and just like punches a table and knocks a bunch of items off of it as he's storming through the backstage area. So Kathy Kelly brought up that Punk said you had travel issues, but you were on the same flight as me. Punk said, yeah, I told a little white why because he figured out that McIntyre wouldn't show up if he did. Punk then said Drew is walking around with a bracelet that has the names of his wife and his dog on it. We know this. He said it's not about the bracelet and McIntyre can keep it. That's an interesting add to it. He said it's the context and the names. Punk said McIntyre isn't allowed to speak his wife or dog's name without consequences and repercussions. Punk then said it wouldn't stop until he gets his he wouldn't stop until he gets his hands on Drew. And then Punk said he knew McIntyre would call him a hypocrite for claiming he had travel problems. And he looked at the belt, said he just figured out a way to make everybody happy. I think what's going to happen here, as I said, is what I think is going to happen is I think we're getting a strap match in Berlin. And that's going to be what's going to happen. Be very old school. I think we've only seen a handful of strap matches recently. I know Drew had one with Karrion Kross not too long, like a year or two ago. So that's interesting. So then we show a graphic of Miz's accomplishments. We're getting ready for his match with Bronson Reed. Mark Henry, my guy. I've worked with him on Busted Open. Mark is just a treasure. His son Jacob just recently signed with WWE as part of their NIL programs. Mark lives in the Texas area. I think he's a Texas alum. So makes sense that Mark's there. Awesome to see him. Mark's fantastic. He's an awesome guy. I got to work with him for a few weeks on Busted Open. And just a wonderful, wonderful human being. So it's awesome to see him back in WWE in front of a live audience. So then we get Bronson Reed and The Miz. This was really short. Miz late in this match puts Reed down, gets a good-looking DDT, but that only gets one. So then Reed hits a Death Valley driver and then gets a tsunami for the win. This match was not very long. After the match, Reed goes up top to repeat what he did last week to Seth Rollins, but R-Truth, the national treasure, R-Truth, gets Miz out of the way and rolls him to safety. Reed then hits a top rope cross body, which might as well have been a tsunami. Then he hits another tsunami. Then he goes back up again. The referees and producers try to stop it. Reed then hits another tsunami. Then he hits another tsunami. So if you're scoring so far, we're up to I think 3 or 4. Adam Pearce gets out there. He's barking at Reed, who's on the ropes. Truth rolls to the other corner. Reed pounds his chest, drops down to the apron. But then he goes to the other side of the ring and hits another tsunami on Truth. Pearce is still barking at Reed, intimidates him by glaring at him. Reed leaves the ring and smiled while sitting on the apron. Pearce is then walking with Reed past, trying to go up the ramp as he's barking at him. The crowd chants one more time, and Bronson Reed hits another one. Another brilliant Bronson Reed segment. This was fantastic. This is the best he's looked. I think they should just do this for the next month. Just do this for the next month with Bronson Reed until Seth Rollins is ready to come back, and maybe you set something up for Bad Blood, and maybe start building to that. Because that's how I think this should go. Seth shouldn't be on TV for a while. Based off what reporting is, he's not fully healthy. And then when you take a 350-pound guy in your abdomen 6 times, that's obviously not going to hurt. But Seth took one for the team. It got Reed over. The Tsunami's an incredibly over finisher with the fans. So this was great. I mean, it sucks because R-Truth is just a goddamn national treasure, and he had to take this. 52 years old, people, and he's taking a bunch of tsunamis like a fucking maniac. That was great. This did what it needed to do. This was exactly what it needed to be. So then we go backstage. Jey Uso's firing up Sami Zayn for his 2 out of 3 falls match, which is the main event of this show. Jey basically says, hey, go win the title back from Braun Breaker. Sami notes that he's got to beat Braun twice. Jay then basically says, yeah, go. It's about winning the title, and then, hey, we're going to go win the tag team titles. Then we get a big announcement. Michael Cole announces that at Bash in Berlin, we are getting Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, the Terror Twins, against the new power couple, Dom Mysterio and Liv Morgan. Mixed tag team match in Berlin. This is what I expected was going to happen with this feud. I didn't expect them to go right back to Liv and Rhea for the women's championship. They don't need to. Liv can hold the championship for a little longer. We could take this and stretch this out to Bad Blood, and maybe do this as a women's Hell in a Cell match, which I think fits this feud to keep all these people out of keep all of the people out of the cell. So I actually like the direction that they're going for with this, and I think maybe this is the portion where Rhea gets her comeuppance and actually slams Dom. And we'll see how the fans in Berlin react. But if it's anything like any other international crowd, this is going to go over really well. So then we get a Judgment Day video. Finn Balor seated with the new Judgment Day. There was some concern that they were going to get called street trash, which I'm glad they didn't go to that. I'm sure Triple H saw the internet that this was a bad idea. Probably leaked it to get the feelers out there, and a lot of people were not thrilled with that idea. Morgan said Priest and Rhea would pay for putting their hands on the most. So Liv says that Priest and Ripley will pay for putting their hands on the most gorgeous man in the world. Really, with that porn stash, Liv, what are you doing? What are you doing? So then Finn tells Priest, watch out. Said he would show him what Backstabber Balor is all about. You could probably make that into a t-shirt at some point. So then we set the stage for the main event. They're in Fort Lauderdale next week. Alba Fire, Isla Dawn versus Io and Kyrie, and Shayna and Zoe, triple threat for the women's tag team titles. Sheamus and Pete Dunne, and then New Day and Odyssey Jones versus the Final Testament. So they're already building. I like this. They give you a few matches right off the bat. They'll start building the card late in the week and over the weekend. So setting the stage for the latter stages of this month is before we get to Bash in Berlin. Sami Zayn comes out. Braun Breaker gets the walk and talk entrance of the show. They do this once a show. He said he's a badass, and it was time to do what badasses do. He asks football guy McAfee if there were any dogs barking in Austin, and he makes his entrance. This was great. Braun was like, yeah, I don't usually do. I'm not the type of guy who likes to talk up things like people who do this. Just kind of breaking the fourth wall, which is really cool. So Sammy early on gets his flip dive to the outside. But coming back from break, Sammy, and this was a surprise to me, catches Braun with the haluva kick about 6 minutes into this match and gets the first fall. I thought they didn't give this a lot of time, but they jammed a lot of shit into about 20 minutes or less, which was kind of an impressive sprint here. But yeah, Sammy gets the first fall. And then Braun caught Sammy going for a moonsault off the barricade. So then Braun, this was honestly one of my favorite camera shots that maybe they've ever done. So almost in like first person shooter mode on like one of those video games, you get a camera guy right behind Braun as he lawn darts Sammy right into the timekeeper's area, right into the wall. Holy shit, that looked freaking gnarly. And they came back and they showed this spot overhead with their overhead shot. But man, that was some impressive production that they did there to just get that shot executed the way that it did. Breaker gets his Frankensteiner for a near fall. So then, like I said, they replayed the lawn dart thing. And like I said, Sammy, like, I mean, Cole said on commentary, Sammy's dead. Like, that was a gnarly looking spot. Breaker then gets the Gorilla Press Slam. He gets a couple spears in and gets a 3 count. So about 6 minutes later, we get the second fall of this match. So it's 1-1. Referee checks on Sammy. Braun gets a lazy cover after a couple minutes, but Sammy gets a 2. They go to ringside. Breaker then slams Sammy's head on the broadcast table, goes to the apron with Sammy seated on the announce table. He gets almost like a clothesline dive onto the table. Sammy, there's the count out. Sammy beats the count at 9. Braun gets Sammy on the top turnbuckle, gets him up on the ropes. Sammy fights back and gets a sunset flip powerbomb for a near fall. He goes for the exploder, but Breaker counters into a belly to belly. Sammy leapt over a charging Breaker and then rolls him up for 2. Breaker then gets Sammy with a nasty looking knee strike. Breaker runs the ropes for a spear, but Sammy catches him almost with kind of like a half haluva kick because it wasn't into the ropes, and falls on top of him, gets a really close near fall. So Sammy goes up top. Breaker joins him on the ropes, but Sammy shoves him down. Zayn jumps from the top rope, and Breaker hits him with a spear in midair, and he pins him, wins the match. This was awesome. Literally, like I said, I thought they didn't give this enough time. It maybe could have gone a little bit longer, but for a 2 out of 3 falls match to go under 20 minutes and have this level of, action in it was freaking awesome. Again, that lawn dart spot was freaking amazing. Like that because if you were there, and my buddies, I know they were in the building there in Austin, but this was something like I said, it's almost like a first person shooter mode, like on the old school video games. I don't know how they were able to do this. I don't know if they had Bron with like some sort of GoPro on him. I don't know how you did that, but it looked so cool. And then you literally see Sammy going to the wall, and then you give the overhead shots and everything. This was great. Bron retains the championship. He's going to be holding that for a long time. And Sammy, I think, now can move on from the Intercontinental title and start to set the stage for the Bloodline OG reunion that is starting to build with Roman Reigns already returning as the OTC. So, all in all, this was a good show. Raw hasn't missed a lot recently. It wasn't as good as last week, I will say that. The crowd, I think, was better last week. I think there was a lot more impactful segments last week. But good main event, strong segments throughout. A weird finish with that women's tag team match, which, like I said, was kind of done over with. They do the triple threat. And hopefully we get a solid winner there. And we should, because, like I said, triple threats are no DQ. But yeah, Raw's cooking. And we're on the road to Bash in Berlin. And again, I also loved that Gunther Orton followed by CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. It's very rare that you get two feuds advancing in the span of about 10 minutes. Like that's just a testament to good television and good wrestling storytelling from Triple H. And like I said, this is why Triple H has been killing it, man. Like this is just the reality of the situation. So, yeah, we'll see where things go. NXT is going to be interesting tomorrow night. I think, like I said, Otis, I think, is going to be the guy to face Obafemi for that North American title. We'll see what happens with Wes Lee. There's a tag team title match tomorrow night with Chase U versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier. And then we get to AEW on I tried to tell you guys about Collision. That friggin' Swerve Strickland was going to be in a nothing match. It was against Tomohiro Ishii, who's great, but no build, no way to enhance the story whatsoever. Bryan Danielson's talking about how he needs neck surgery, so I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Elite, but Nick and Matt Jackson, I'm not going to call them Nicholas and Matthew. They're facing the Acclaimed. I thought that was going to be a Wembley match. FTR, I guess, is going to be there. Maybe we do a triple threat. Mercedes Moné against Hikaru Shida, which could not main event. It could honestly be a pay-per-view match. They're doing it for free with like 2 days build. What? And we're going to beat Hikaru Shida again? Why? God. And then, so then you got, I think Hangman Page is facing Jay Lethal. Okay. I guess we're doing Hangman and Jeff Jarrett at Wembley. Whatever. Then we've got this triple threat match because they announced the Casino Gauntlet match for Wembley, which is going to determine the next world title contender after Darby Allin because he won a world title match. And I think it's Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Orange Cassidy triple threat match to determine, get this, who is the number one entrant in the gauntlet. How ridiculous is that? Who wants to be the first person in the gauntlet? I mean, I understand that the gauntlet can end at any time, and that's the only thing. But now you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to be the first one out there. So I know it's an endurance thing, but it's just like, rather than I just don't see the need to have this match to like, you just have it be a surprise of who's in the gauntlet, or just, you don't need to do qualifying matches for this. I know I'm big on qualifying matches, but this, like I said, the concept of this to have them be the number one entrant, nobody wants to win the number one entrant in the Royal Rumble. Again, this is just a flawed concept. It's like you can't have a gauntlet that just ends at any point. Otherwise, you're just going to have really stupid storytelling with like Roderick Strong saying, yeah, you know what? I didn't get in the match. Well, that's the rules of the match. So, it's not a show if I don't complain about AEW, because some of this is just, weird. I'm rooting for them. I really am. To do well and have a good All In. But at a certain level, sometimes you're just insulting wrestling fans' intelligence. And then when your nutbag fan base is trying to, take shots at WWE when they're prospering, and you want to talk about, ad breaks and all this, and like how much time is in between matches, I was like, guess what? Guess who's successful and who isn't? So that's it. I've gone on way too long here. This is a lot of details in this show. Running through a lot of stuff. But like I said, really excited where wrestling is, where WWE is. And we'll see where things are, potentially to see about an NXT post show. But like I said, we'll be back here for Dynamite for sure. We'll be back here for SmackDown for sure. And getting in the home stretches here of All In. And then, like I said, Bash in Berlin at the end of the month. So talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.